Welcome into the show. This is Jono.
And this is Micah, and you're listening to Medium Retro.
Micah Thomas, we're back, man. How you doing?
I'm doing incredibly well, Mr. Jono. How about you?
Well, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We are remote once again because of potential COVID issues. So here we are.
I say I'm doing incredibly good. I do have a sore throat, though, and that is why we are currently separate.
Mm-hmm. You look good, though, through the screens,
I mean, I feel pretty good, Feel pretty great. Just, got a scratchy scratch in the back of my throat. A little bit of congestion, but that's been pretty standard for this time of year, so... all normal things pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes this time of the year so weird with COVID because, some of the symptoms overlap a little bit and you got to be extra cautious,
It's true. We're currently experiencing a worse outbreak than the first time, so It's good to be smart.
Yes, if you're listening in the future, shit is crazy right now.
In the future, if people survive through this, it was a tough time.
Yeah. If people survive through this.
Lots of basement dwelling, lots of, apartment chilling, lots of video games.
Lots and lots of video games, which is why you are here today, listeners out there. You're listening into Medium Retro, your weekly dose of retro gaming goodness. So thanks for listening in. Friendly reminder to check out our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com or mediumretro.com. And then, leaving us reviews on your favorite podcast app is also super, super cool. And we like it.
Hell yeah. Also, on top of that, guys, as always, we have social media. So be sure to follow us on Twitch and Twitter at MediumRetro and on Instagram at MediumRetro Podcast. Go click some like buttons. Send us a message. Say hey.
It's funny, Micah, that we're recording remote again, because when we used to do this, every time we would record, you would just get to see me in a rage because of my computer. The people who have been listening since the beginning will remember that it happens again. It's just like the quirks on this computer are so mind-numbingly dumb.
Yeah, there's got to be some way around it, but sounds super frustrating.
Well, I think it tries to do things thinking it knows what you want it to do automatically. Like, we're recording with Zencastr, a web-based way to record podcasts so we can both hear each other. But then when I opened up Logic to record there, it shut the mic down on Zencastr automatically. Like, it knew that I wouldn't want to have it in two places. But they are
wrong. What a bummer.
Yeah, and I have no way to figure it out.
But that's the problem with technology, man. Like, it's getting to be more intuitive, right? But sometimes, creates a worse user experience. It can be frustrating, difficult, dumb even.
Dumb. It's like when you want to type the word fuck and it writes duck. It's like, don't do that.
But that contextually,
sometimes it is good. But, if you read what's going on in that conversation, the computer knows what I'm trying to say. But for whatever reason, they're like, no. We're not allowed to autocorrect to that. It's just like, well, we're going to type it anyway. Just let us autocorrect it.
Yeah. Dude, there are ways to save a lot of stuff like that into your phone.
I should probably do that. I've never done anything. Oh my God.
Gesundheit, COVID. Ooh. Scary. Sneezing.
I haven't been feeling great either, but that's because I mixed a lot of physical hiking and things like that I had a friend in town with a lot of drinking the booze. Too much. There was just one night. It was just too much, Micah.
I feel you there. I mean, not that I've been drinking heavily, but I think my finals just finished, so I feel like that was like drinking heavily. Getting on the other side of that is like having a terrible hangover.
Yeah, I believe it, man. So tell us about that. You just got rid of all. Well, I guess first I should say this episode is on Shinobi. Just so sometimes we tend to talk for 20 minutes without mentioning what the show is going to be about.
This is about Shinobi, a good old classic. Looking forward to talking about it. But what were you asking me just now, Jono?
Well, yeah, you finished your first semester of school and you had a harrowing week of studying and exams and everything. So just, how you doing? How'd that go?
It went surprisingly well. I think I finished with all A's in all my classes. I let an unreasonable amount of work fall into the last week of school, thinking that I had another week. I'd misread my schedule. So,
Mhm.
long story short, it was 8 days of 12-hour study session marathons, but I got through it, and here I am.
Classic
I
procrastination.
know. Oh man, I learned a couple of I should say I relearned a couple of valuable lessons. Fall break is always a lie, and double check your synopsis a couple times through the semester. Don't think you know what's going on
Yeah,
just because you read it a couple times at the beginning.
that's good advice, Micah.
Ugh, it's good advice I need to remember.
I need like a, what is it, a syllabus? Is that the thing that they give you? I need a syllabus for my life sometimes. Just like
Well, I mean,
week
okay, to
3
be
of May, you're going to be doing this. And if you don't, you're failing life. It's not a failing grade, you're failing life, Micah.
that's kind of worse than a failing grade in most ways. But I actually do this for myself a lot. Like if I have a lot of things on my plate, if I have a lot of things coming up, I will write out a schedule for everything, and it'll be like you have to have this done by this time. Like don't fuck it up. I like write myself little notes and everything. It's funny,
Are you
but I
really
mean,
good at sticking to those notes?
sometimes it depends.
Mm,
If I know it's going to be like a tight schedule, I'm pretty good at sticking to it. That being said, if I know there's some leeway, that's when the procrastination sets in.
yeah.
Yeah, never a good time.
Never a good time. Are you? I know we have our adult beverage section here. I am
Mhm.
drinking an adult beverage, Mike, but we didn't have anything planned because we had to do this remote, and we didn't have a special beverage today. But I am drinking something. How about you?
I'm drinking a beer. I'm actually
Oh,
drinking the New Belgium accumulation, which I believe we had in
ooh,
the last episode. Just a good old tasty white IPA for the holidays.
yeah. That might have been the Doom episode. What? No, I think that was Gradius actually.
So
Mm,
episode before last.
yeah.
I totally forgot I had a case of these in the back of my fridge, just sitting there, chilling behind all the Trulies I've been drinking. So
Oh, sucking down the Trulies.
yeah, I gotta be honest. On occasion, I do like to switch back and forth between seltzers, but yeah, it was pretty fun. I drank the last one last night, actually.
Well, that night of partying that I mentioned earlier involved a lot of White Claws. So
Uh, See, the problem
I
with
feel
those
you.
seltzers, they're great, but you can drink way too many of them, and they make you feel awful. All the like fake flavor shit just makes you
Yeah.
feel bad.
I mean, honestly, the only reason I was drinking them, because I don't even like them. I think they taste like crap. I like a
Oh,
refreshing, non-alcoholic seltzer, but the alcoholic, like Trulies and White Claws and everything, I've never been a fan of the way they taste. Sometimes though, like we were eating a lot. Like I had a friend in town, we were eating a bunch of food, and beer when you're full already just makes you feel so, I don't know.
yeah, it's too much. It's too
Too
filling.
much. I don't know. I was gonna say some things, but I'm not sure the audience needs me to say all the things I was gonna say. Just White Claws sit a little bit better with you sometimes, and so that's why I was breaking laws on the White Claws. What do they say? That's not the saying. I'm a fucking old man. That's not what the
I don't
kids
know, but
say these days.
that sounds great. Breaking laws on their white claws.
There's no
It's
there's
great.
no
I'm not.
laws on claws. It's something like that, Micah. We should call up the nearest 19-year-old. They'll know.
Mm. I'm so out of the loop with all these things now. Like someone makes a joke, and I'm like, I don't get it. It goes straight over my head. It's like, yeah, this makes you feel old, man.
Yeah, we're young at heart, Micah, and young in body still. And I'm drinking a
That's true.
margarita, so I'm gonna be feeling good here
Hell
once
yeah.
that
I'm gonna
kicks in.
pop this bad boy on the mic as always.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Okay. It's been a while since we've done a remote episode. I always feel like it's a different start to the show.
I know it's weird. It's like slower and it's not as much energy. It's like I'm looking at a computer. I'm looking at you. Hey, what's up?
I know. How do we change that?
More alcohol. I think that's the trick there. But yeah, no, it is always like weird starting out a show doing remote. And I mean, granted, with COVID still being an issue, I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 months we're gonna have to maybe do this a couple more times, just depending on what happens. But
Yeah.
hopefully after that, vaccines and everything else will be sitting golden. Couple of golden girls.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Well, the show abides, and we'll we'll keep on keeping on, whether we're remote or in person.
Hell yeah.
I just thought of something because I was just looking at Zencaster and I just had this nostalgic flashback to when we first started the show. And I remember during the first 5 episodes for sure, I would stare at Zencaster being like, oh my God, we're like 3/4 through all of the content we have and we're 20 minutes into the show. Like, what do we do? And now it's totally opposite of that. It's like, oh my God, we're 10 minutes in. We haven't even done the opening segment yet, you know? It's funny how things have changed, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Speaking of the opening segment, let's do it. Our segment today is Pixel or It Didn't Happen. Yeah, so this segment is when we talk about insane and absurd moments we experienced in games, gaming moments that blew our minds. Would you like to go first, sir?
I'll let you go first this time.
Oh, geez, Micah. I was actually between 2 moments in this game. I'm only going to say one. Maybe I'll save that other one for a different day. For 20 years down the road, episode 4000, I'll talk about it. My Pixel or Didn't Happen moment, a moment in gaming that blew my mind, is finding out in Ocarina of Time that Sheik is actually Zelda.
Oh, what a good moment. Blew my mind too. I couldn't believe it. I thought Sheik was a dude this whole time, which you were
Uh-huh.
supposed to. But
Definitely we're supposed to, but yeah, that was a mind-blowing moment, obviously, because Zelda, you didn't really know what happened to her. You go into the future and everything, and yeah, that was a mind-blowing moment, and Sheik was such a cool character. And I'm excited to dig back into Zelda at some point because we're gonna be doing that at some point. And I
hell
can't
yeah.
wait to kind of relive a lot of that game because I haven't played it since 1999. Yeah, I
Damn.
mean it's been 20 years since I've played Ocarina of Time. I dipped my toes in a little bit when the Master
Master
Collection,
Quest?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
when it came out on GameCube. I
Hmm.
played a little bit of it, but I did not even come close to beating the game. I don't even think I made it past the first 3 dungeons.
Dude, that's actually the first time I beat the game proper, like beat the whole entirety of the game. I made it to the last couple dungeons in my early playthroughs, but that whenever it came out in GameCube was the first time I actually beat it all the way through.
Wow. That's a fun
Yeah.
fact.
And it was crazy. As a kid, I don't think we actually ever owned it for the N64. I think we just rented it, if I remember correctly. But
Hmm.
yeah, beating it for the first time was incredibly fun.
That's
But,
a
you
that's
know,
a big moment right there.
it is. I'll say my crazy moments, Super Smash Bros. Melee, when you destroy regular gloved master hands and you have to fight crazy hands. That always blew my mind when I was younger, you know.
Hmm.
He's the crazy left hands brother who's always just like freaking out, you know. Master Hand is a giant glove that you fight. He's the final boss in Smash Bros. His alternate left hand brother is Crazy Hands, who is crazy and much, much more difficult. Faster moving, has crazier attacks. Yeah, Crazy
And his
Hands.
name is Crazy Hand?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, it's classic.
Good old Crazy Hand.
But I just remember just being blown away by how much more difficult it was. And at the time when I first fought him, I did not have the ability to beat him properly.
Mhm.
Took some training, you know?
Well, that's a good answer. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. That was Pixel or It Didn't Happen. We'll do that, we rotate these in every 15 episodes or so, something around there. So we'll be doing that one again for sure.
Indeed.
Cool, man. Well, I think that brings us to the meat and potatoes.
The meats and pots.
Meats and pots. Now, typically one of us kind of chooses this game. I don't think really either of us were super hardcore about it. I think we both just kind of threw it out there and like, yeah, let's play Shinobi. I've never played
Yeah.
Shinobi. Let's do it.
It's one of those titles everyone always talks about. It's a name you know if you had a Sega or a Nintendo back in the day. I was stoked to play it, but yeah, I think this is sort of a joint effort, is what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you just kind of run us through some of the game facts?
Sure. So it was developed by Sega AM1, published by Sega, directed by Yutaka Sugano, I think.
It's
It's my
it's like
best
it's like
attempt there.
Jano, but Sugano.
Sugano. He worked on early Sonic games and received special thanks credits on many Panzer Dragoon games. but does not have a vast catalog of game credits, as it turns out.
Yeah. Have you ever played any of the Panzer Dragoon games?
Okay,
Okay.
so my family, we rented a Sega, whatever it was before the Dreamcast. What was that system?
Saturn?
Sega Saturn. Yeah, we rented one from Blockbuster, and we
Classic.
also rented Panzer's Dragoon. I played it, but I never really made it that far. But it was a really cool game. I remember it blew me away.
Yeah, that game gets a lot of love. I've never spent much time with him though. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe that would be a fun one to do for the show, the Panzer Dragoon.
that would actually be pretty mind blowing to go back to that game because I literally have not played it since I rented it that one time as a child.
We're gonna have to track down
So
a Saturn.
hell yeah, it's entirely possible.
It is
Um,
possible.
yeah, shoot, man. But yeah, then for the rest of the Shinobi credits, composer Yoshihiro Kawakami. Platforms released originally for the arcade, then followed with the NES. The release for the arcade was 1987 of November in Japan. In North America, it was also released 1987, and in the European Union, took 2 years later, 1989, to finally be released. Then you had your Master System release on June 18th, 1988, followed by the NES release 1989. So, interesting fun facts. It's kind of weird to think about the arcade version coming out before the others because it's so much more filled out, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually always thought this was an NES original until I looked everything up for this show. So I learned something, Micah. Can you
Yeah,
believe
pretty
it?
interesting. This show, as an excuse for learning about video games, can't. No. But yeah, I always find it really interesting too because when we were originally getting ready to do this episode, I was looking through all my Sega games, and I was like, why can I not find Shinobi? And then realized, it was a Master System release, but then also it was an NES release. I was looking for Sega Genesis because I guess I was thinking Shinobi too, but
Yeah. Well,
if
honestly, looking at the graphics for the arcade, like the 1987 original, I'm surprised they didn't release it for the actual Genesis because
yeah, me too.
man, the NES version looks like shite compared to the arcade version that came out 2 years prior.
Yeah, the NES version is definitely like droopy in comparison, I would say.
Yeah. Is that the version you played? Did you play the NES version or did you play the Master System version?
I played the NES version.
Yeah, me as well. We probably played the worst version of the game.
Probably. But at the same time, I think that's probably the majority of what other people played was the NES version.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the Master System version was pretty similar, if not the same, at the end of the day.
The Master System actually looks significantly different than the NES version too.
Really?
Yeah, it does. They're definitely not the same. So you'll see here in the fun facts shortly that the I'm watching some videos of the Sega Master System one, and there's just a guy shooting his gun directly through one of the hostages, but somehow the hostage is not getting affected. It just made me laugh. But yeah, you'll find out a fact here very soon about the NES one that is kind of funny. So why don't we dig into the fun facts then? The first one has nothing to do with the game. It's just that Shinobi is just another word for ninja, and I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I actually was not aware. I always thought Shinobi was specifically the name of the character, which is hilarious because, I guess I just don't really know that much about traditional ninjas.
Man, you got to step up your ninja game, bro.
I know. You have listed here next the Nintendo Entertainment System version of Shinobi was released by Tengen exclusively in North America as an unlicensed release in 1989.
Yeah,
That's kind of blows my mind, actually.
and that's what I was referring to. That's why it probably looks so janky because it's unlicensed. Like, is it even Shinobi if it's not made by the people who made Shinobi?
I guess so, but I guess not. It's kind of funny though. The play mechanics are based on the Master System version. However, Tengen removed all of the close range weapons, the sword, the nunchuck, and the chain, which look really cool. I'm kind of sad I didn't get to use them, and also the grenades. Only the basic punches, kicks, throwing daggers, and pistol were kept. Unlike the Master System version, the player can only shoot one shuriken, dagger, or bullet on screen at the same time. even after obtaining power-ups. However, the maximum stock of ninjutsu skills has been increased to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool, but not much of a trade-off there.
Yeah.
Still feel like I got gypped.
Yeah, I was, so that all came from Wikipedia, all that information, and then, watching through playthroughs after the fact to confirm some of it. I was like, holy shit, we definitely played like the back alley, just pulled out of a bathtub of ice freezer, like the fake version of the game.
That's hilarious. We'll have to go back and play the Master System version at some point. We'll have the true Shinobi episode.
Yeah, I mean, really what we need to do is play the arcade version because that is the OG Shinobi.
Yeah, and it actually looks really good too.
Yeah, it does look really good for 1987. It's so funny that until we did or prepared for this episode, I always thought Shinobi was like NES game. Like it was a Nintendo Entertainment System game, one of their staple games. And while I was playing it, I was thinking, man, this game's kind of shitty. And now I know why, because it's like the bootleg version of Shinobi.
Dude, that's just so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunate. But, I'm kind of glad we played this version because now I actually want to go back and play the others.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is probably the way that most of the people I knew who played it back in the day, this is what they played. So,
yeah. I mean, there's a reason why we both thought it was an NES game. So that is hilarious,
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, the plot of Shinobi is you play as Joe Musashi. His child students from his ninja clan are getting kidnapped by the Zeed crime organization, and you play through 5 stages seeking to save your kidnapped students. That's the plot. Absolutely.
It's a pretty straightforward plot. Not a lot going on there, but enough to get you, killing other ninjas and enemies, and maybe some punk guys.
Cool. So the gameplay vary of the times, especially the NES version. Side scroller, action platformer. I mean, we recently played Castlevania. I think that was the last episode that we released. If you've played Castlevania, not Shinobi, it's similar play style. Castlevania is far superior. I'll already say that than the NES Shinobi. There's 5 levels in total. The first level has 2 stages and a boss stage. The next 4 levels each have 3 stages with a boss stage. And there's 3 main actions. You can walk, you can attack, and you can jump.
Yeah. 3 main actions. Not a lot going on with them, but, you got to time your stuff pretty perfectly, all things considered, in this game.
Yeah, and I will say this game definitely had its moments, but I think Castlevania was a harder game.
Yeah, I think overall Castlevania, particularly towards the end, was much harder.
There's a couple moments.
This game, I'm going to point out a couple moments in this game that I felt like were like wonky hard, but other than the wonky hard moments, this game was fairly easy in comparison.
Yeah, for sure. So in between levels, I believe if you save all of the students in the level, you can actually get a mini game where you're throwing shurikens at these ninjas that are attacking you. And if you kill all the ninjas, you get a power up. The more you upgrade your shurikens, you basically get to a pistol, and you're shooting a pistol instead of throwing ninja stars. And then you also get ninja magic, which this is embarrassing, but I did not realize that you got ninja magic in this game, and I didn't use it one time.
What's funny is that I knew about the ninja magic. I just could not for the life of me figure out how to use it.
I'm guessing it must have been the select button or something, which I never press. Who presses the select button?
I don't know, man. I looked up online how to do it, and I just couldn't make it work on the way I was playing. I don't know if I was just doing it wrong or what, but yeah, never used a single ninja power. They looked pretty cool, though.
We really are crushing this episode. We didn't know which version that we were playing, the fake version. We didn't know there was ninja powers. I mean, come on.
Hey, you live, you learn,
You live, you learn, That's the point of this show is we are playing through old classic games and learning about them, and we learned a lot.
Yeah, totally. I think titles like Shinobi are ones that you just take for granted, they were always around when we were kids. Like, I didn't know shit about this game, as it turns out, That was actually I feel like that was half the fun of this episode, was learning about how messed up and weird everything was,
Yeah. I mean, shit, you thought your character's name was Shinobi.
Not gonna lie, I did.
Which, honestly, I thought so too until I looked this up. Shinobi just seems like a name.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
does.
seem like it should mean ninja. It seems like, hey, I'm Shinobi Sheets. I'm Shinobi Good Times guy. You know what I mean?
It's shurikens and also an Italian sub. That's what you sound like.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Shinobi Sheets.
I'm Shinobi Sheets. Yeah. You're
Oh
Shinobi
man,
McSofty. I think that was your name we created on Medium Retro special episode.
yeah, dude.
Jolly
Sh-
McSofty.
yeah, dude. Shinobi soft serve. That
Shinobi
is me.
soft serve. What flavor ice cream would that be? What would be in that soft serve?
If it was Shinobi, it would be like, I don't know, like blueberry sprinkles. But if it was Micah soft serve, it'd be probably vanilla. Let's be real here. I'm very basic.
Mm. See, I would have
Mm.
figured it would have been flavored with the blood of your enemies.
Oh, actually, probably. I'm just thinking he looks very blue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He has that blue outfit, the blue ninja outfit. What's the proper terminology for that? There is a name for it.
In the jujitsu and stuff, it's a gi, but that's different than what they're wearing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the thing that Goku wears.
Yeah. Because, ninjas, real ninjas, they don't fucking wear stagehand costumes. They're ninjas. They have cool outfit.
Yeah, they were rocking the onesie before it was cool.
Yeah, dude, for real. But yeah, no, I would probably put him as maybe it would be, this is what it would be. Blueberry sprinkles, but it also have a red swirl.
Mm.
That'd be the flavor soft serve would get with
You got to swirl in
good old Shinobi.
the blood of your enemies for sure.
Yeah, and Shinobi's ruthless, man. He kills so many dudes in this. Big dudes, small dudes, dudes who can shoot magical fireballs. He'd stop at nothing to save these kids.
Helicopters, yeah, he's taking people down. You got to save those kids. And
Yeah,
I like
important.
it that it's his clan.
Yeah.
Because when you think of like a cult or a clan, it just always has bad connotations about it. But Joe Musashi's
Indeed.
clan was a good one. All right, this is a good ninja clan. We assume.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he seems like a good guy. At least he's got the welfare of his children in mind.
Yeah, I kind of wish the game ended where we found out that Joe Musashi was actually running a horrible clan, and the Zeed crime syndicate was actually kidnapping the children to take them out of a life of horror.
Oh my God.
And you're just like really the bad guy the whole time.
See, that sounds like a modern video game.
Yeah.
This is before video games made you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah. What video game has recently made you feel bad about yourself by being a bad man?
Oh, let me think about this for a second. I think Far Cry always makes you do questionable things. And I don't think that it's ever like really that bad. But Grand Theft Auto, you always feel like a fucking dick in that game because you're always doing something bad. You're usually kind of a bad guy.
It's true.
Which
you have your moments in Red Dead also, the Rockstar games.
That's very true. That one guy you beat nearly to death and he dies from his injuries or sickness that was made worse by the injuries you gave him. I don't know.
Wait till you play Last of Us 2, man. Talk about just like void of any happiness. I mean, that is a bleak, draining game. You do some bad things in that one.
I've seen like a couple of I've been pretty good about avoiding spoilers for the most part on that one, but I've seen some pretty bleak takedowns in that game.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of videos.
It's awesome. I actually want to play it again. While I was playing it, I didn't think I did, but now that I'm like, I'll have all of my upgrades and weapons and everything. Yeah, I could run through this game again.
Yeah, it's like you've already had your heart ripped out, so it can't hurt anymore. Seeing it a second time.
Exactly. Well, cool. Just to wrap up the gameplay, there's no timer on the screen, but apparently there is a 3-minute time limit on each stage, which I never ran into, but that is a thing that exists.
Yeah, me either.
Apparently. In the arcade version, you must actually rescue all of the hostages to complete the level. A stage in the console version, you did not. If you did not save one of the hostages, you could still complete the level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the designs were also a little bit different in the console versions. Sometimes the hostages were higher up and you had to like backtrack or figure out how to get to them. So that is a different design philosophy than they probably took in the arcade if you had to get every single hostage.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. the other thing here we're going to go through are some of the characters. There's really not a whole lot of characters. The main one is Shinobi himself, Joe Musashi. And then why don't you read us off the 5 different bosses that we are going to fight?
Yeah, so boss number 1 is Kin O, and he's an asshole. Shoots fireballs at you.
Mhm.
Boss number 2, Black Turtle, which I would assume is a pilot of this helicopter. Boss number 3, Mandara. Boss number 4, Lobster. He's wearing a lot of samurai armor that kind of makes him look a little bit crustacean-like.
Yep.
And boss number 5, Masked Ninja.
Yeah, the big bad masked ninja. I'm assuming he's the leader of Zeed, this crime syndicate, but I don't know. I don't think it really said in the NES version. Everything was very...
Whoever he is,
Sorry,
I
go
was
for
just
it.
going to say, whoever he is, he's an asshole. He's a bastard.
He's a bastard. Unless in fact he was running a Buddhist camp saving these children and we murdered him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing out ideas here, Micah.
it's possible. It's possible. It's very possible, actually.
It's very possible. Unlikely, but it is possible. All right.
Man, you want to run through some of the enemies in the levels you face?
Yeah, absolutely, man. They're not the craziest. There's a lot of repetition, like old school games will do. You have the one version and then you change the color a lot. But yeah, we have kind of some of the punks and the thugs. One's called Mohai, and then there's Jackknife, and then there's Gunner. Gunner's obviously the one shooting a pistol. And then we have some big sworded dudes named Husam and Masam that have like a giant blade, like what is it, a centaur? What's the name of that blade?
I'm not sure. It's like those squarish shaped blades. These guys look almost like Western Chinese / Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
It's strange. They're definitely aesthetically different than the ninjas you will face after this.
Yeah, they kind of look like the enemies from the movie 300. They're like those
Yeah,
enemies.
totally.
And then we have a bunch of ninjas. We got Frogman, who will
My favorite.
appear from the water. He's wearing a scuba suit and has a yellow oxygen tank and everything.
I just want to point out that this whole entire time, I didn't realize they were actually supposed to be underwater, because in the NES version, it does not look like water at all.
Now, I think you can actually fall into the water and you stand on it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it's like whatever.
But yeah, frogmen, they'll jump up. Then we got blue ninjas, which jump a lot, and then we have green, red, and yellow ninjas, who all look the exact same, just with a color change, and they're each a little bit harder as you see them. All right, and then we got Bazooka and Bazooka 2. They shoot bazookas at you, different angles. We got Skull, who's like a weird clown-looking guy, like a jester.
Yeah, I never really got him. He was confusing.
Yeah, some of these are all very confusing. We have Booz, Booz, who's kind of he seems like Sensei, Master Ninja. He's got the wooden pole,
Yeah, he's definitely a little bit older than the rest of his ninja companions.
He's maybe the most traditional design out of anything in here. A lot of the designs are kind of goofy.
Yeah. What's funny is the next 3 enemies are definitely the goofiest out of all of them.
Yes.
So Spider just looks like Spider-Man. Climbs around on walls. He's pretty much a Spider-Man ninja. You just take him out.
I mean,
he's
like a straight
red and
Spider-Man
blue
ripoff.
Yeah, red and blue costume. Looks like Spider-Man. Junkie Head, which is sort of like he's similar. Junkie Head's similar to a lot of those jumping guys in Donkey Kong. He's very similar to that. He even looks like those guys in Donkey Kong. He's got an abnormally large mouth.
Yeah, and huge eyes. Is he? So we're supposed to assume he's just strung out on PCP, jumping at you, Junkie Head.
That would make sense. That would totally make sense.
I think he should have a mohawk. He's missing a mohawk.
Yeah, dude, we got a punk earlier in the game. We need another punk. Junkie Head, using drunks and part of the punk culture would make total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be stereotypical here.
Yeah.
And then our last little dude is Rook, which I can't really remember facing him in the game. I'm not sure he was an issue, but
honestly, I don't remember facing him either, but apparently he was in the game because we're on the website showing all the different baddies.
Well, Junkie Head was probably one of my least favorite enemies in this whole entire game. Spider, loved him. Just wanted to make sure we got to shout out Spider because he is just like Spider-Man.
Yeah, see, I think Junkie and Frogman were my favorites. Frogman, because when he jumped and he was in a scuba suit, it just made me laugh because he looked so ridiculous. But then same with Junkie Head. And then I actually hated Junkie Head. They kind of freaked me out during the game and they would come out of nowhere. But then when I looked them up and their name was Junkie Head, it made me like them. So I hated them. And then they won me over with their name.
Nice. They definitely, the way that the NES, the enemies that half the time when they appear on screen, they appear making their initial movements. And a lot of times with junkies, they were difficult. They would appear jumping at you at a weird angle, and to dodge them, you had to sort of took good timing and good skill to be able to do that properly.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I think we're about to get into the playthrough of the game. So before we do so, let's jump into Happy Hour.
Hell yeah.
Our middle segment here we always do just to chat about some things that we are enjoying, consuming outside of video games. Let you know that we're doing other things in life than just sitting down and playing retro games 24/7, which maybe we are, and maybe our happy hour is a total lie. You don't know.
We just made it up just to make you guys happy for an hour.
Absolutely. Riding my boat, my yacht in the Mediterranean. That's my happy hour. That's a lie. See, I'm lying to you. I don't have a yacht in the Mediterranean. But Micah, why don't you start us off? Because I did our opening segment earlier.
Okay, so I know it's a little bit late because this has been out for a minute. I've been seeing these things get passed around a lot, but the new AI face swap apps that have been coming out have been incredibly good. Reface, REFACE, has been my favorite app this last week, particularly in the last 2 days that I've, after having finished finals, I sat there and I spent probably 6 or 7 hours just swapping my face with random clips from movies and sending it to my siblings and laughing our asses off about how funny it looks. I've just been swapping them with so many friends. So literally this one app has been bringing me so much joy. So I just want to give a little shout out to fun, weird face swapping apps. The future of AI is scary, face swapping technology. That's scary and creepy, but it's also a lot of fun. So there you go.
Yeah, the deep fake is very scary future that we live in. But I got to say, watching your videos were fucking hilarious.
I swapped my face onto a whole entire K-pop band at one point. That was great. But then I think my favorite was Penelope Cruz. There's a video of a bunch of different little random clips. And so my face on Penelope Cruz's body was quite nice.
It just works so well. I don't know. When I first watched your video, because you posted on Instagram, I didn't know what was happening. I was just so confused. I was like, is that a guy who looks like Micah who's been dressing up as women dancing? Or is that Micah's face on? Because I didn't immediately realize that these were famous movie clips. And I think you're on Mr. Bean at one point.
Yeah.
So
I did the classic Mr. Bean winking.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
It took me a sec. I was confused for a little bit.
Oh man, I had so much fun with that shit. And still, I mean, me and my roommate have been swapping videos all day, and my siblings too. We just continue to find weird stuff to put our face on. So it's fun, man, and it's actually surprisingly good at doing it too. It has all the angles and lighting and everything.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was gonna download it yesterday when you sent it to me that it was Reface. I was such a zombie yesterday after the last few days that I literally slept all evening.
Dude, that's how I feel today. Yesterday I was super upbeat and pumped up, and today I've just been so low energy.
Oh man, nice we should have recorded yesterday then. I could have rallied. I literally fell asleep at 6 o'clock and woke up at 10 or 11. I was dead.
Nah, man, I'm totally rallying now that we're starting recording the podcast. It just takes getting into the zone and doing shit. But today I've been playing through another game that we're gonna do on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
here in a few. Yeah, and it's just been so mind numbing, and I've been just so zony. It's been an interesting day, mostly of looking at the screen and going, God, I cannot do this. So
I had some moments while playing through it too, where I my brain could not comprehend what was going on, and I had to put the controller down.
But it's good because it really does take a lot. It's that game really stretches your brain. I like video games that make you have to think. Mm-hmm. Portal was a great example.
Absolutely,
that was another game just really had to stop and think. So, but anyhow, How about you, sir?
I can't remember if I've talked about this before because when we haven't been doing happy hour since the beginning, but there is a gap where we started tracking everything, so we have a spreadsheet of all the opening segments and everything, so we're not repeating ourselves. I didn't see this on there. There is a little gap though where we didn't track. Um, so I'm going to go for it and hope that I didn't talk about this before. I feel like I did though, but I talk about this game all the time. It's a board game called Code Names
Mm.
that I played. It's probably the game at this point, that board game that I play more than any other with my like group of friends from back home that I moved out here with, right? Out to Colorado with. Codenames is great because it's so easy to teach people how to play it. It's very, very quick. When you finish a round, you just flip the cards over and you can immediately start a second game. Very quick to set up after you have to clear the cards. So I just want to give out a shout out to Codenames. It's basically a game where you can have you pretty much have to have at least 3 people, but with 3 people, it's not really like a typical competitive game because one person will have to be on the same team, or you'll just have to like rotate around. Typically, 4 or more is better, but you can actually play like 10 versus 10 if you want. It'd be
Yeah.
fucking hard to do. It's crazy. There's cards on the table. There's 2 people up, so there's a red team and a blue team, and every round you switch who's going to be like the master of words, I guess you would say. And there's an animated version and there's a word version. The word version and the animated version are pretty much the same thing. You have a little grid with that matches the main cards on the table. The grid will have blue squares, gray squares, and red squares, and then there's a death square. You're trying to tell your teammates which cards match your little grid, the blue or the red, depending which color team you're on. And you have to say one word and one number. The word is what's going to link all the cards together, and the number is how many of the cards on the board you're trying to link together.
Yeah.
I might have just
It,
confused everybody.
no, but it's a simple game. It gets super complex trying to make it work, trying to string together, the words that go along with, your grid and the color cards you're trying to get them to guess. It's tough. And to get good at that game, it requires, a lot of cooperation and really knowing your audience. So that's one of my favorite ones to play on game night. So,
Yeah.
if you haven't played it out there, highly recommend it.
One of my favorites. And last week on our last episode, you brought up Betrayal of House Hill, which Micah, I bought it. I bought Betrayal of House Hill, so I have it now, and I am excited to play it some more.
It's such a good game. It's so much fun.
Yeah. So cool. That was Happy Hour. And as we've mentioned before, if you want to submit some questions, comments, manifestos, this is where we will read them on the show during the Happy Hour segment. So if you ever have anything you would like to send our way, please do.
And we'll read it verbatim.
Verbatim.
Well, hell yeah. Happy hour to Jono.
Okay, happy hour. I'm going to take a little sip of my margarita, which I pretty much drank all of it, but I think I'm going to hold off on another one for now.
Hell yeah. We'll get on episode 2.
Absolutely. So let's get into the playthrough of the unlicensed knockoff version that we thought was the original version of Shinobi.
Well, dude, I got to say, first and foremost, absolute first thing I noticed when I boot up this game is the incredibly crazy, lovely pink background.
Yes. The Miami Vice background, bright pink.
Oh, and I love it. It really has like I think the 80s like Miami Vice that nails the color on the head. Like that is what it is. Background is super pink and weird. Really stands out against all the more blue, black and white buildings, which I think all the bricks in this are like yellow too, weirdly enough. But it just like so much color pop, particularly for an NES game, right at the bat.
It definitely has a lot of color pop, but I won't say that the game necessarily has great art to it, especially having just played Castlevania, which looks so much better than this game.
I mean, I think it's better than I would have thought that an NES game would have been for that time, but at the same time, particularly when you consider, Castlevania, Kirby, for example, and even Super Mario 3. Like, it's kind of lackluster.
Yeah, I mean this came out in 1989, so this was like well into the NES cycle. Because I actually kind of disagree. I thought it looked pretty bad
Yeah.
right off the bat. I I was just I thought I don't know. I feel like I thought Shinobi was going to be better than it was, and it partially is because we played this what we thought was the real version, and turns out to not be the version that's
Yeah,
probably
true.
best known for.
But I
You
will
know?
say one thing I think is worth pointing out is the sprites I would say are comparable to Contra, but they appear to have more shading. And that was something I noticed right at the bat. You know, the backgrounds, the overall art in the game isn't like incredible, and it is very simplistic. But particularly like the hands and the little throwing mini games in between, I don't know, not great, but better than I was expecting. I guess is more appropriately what I should say here.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. One thing I noticed right off the bat too is on the start screen, there's like no music and it's just like a static screen instantly, which was kind of funny. And then it just, when you hit start, it just goes to the very obscure mission scenes. In between each stage, it has like mission scenes. It just says FIL, which I guess means file. They just left off the L. Or maybe I just had a typo in my notes there. I think I have a typo. Never mind. But it says a random number 4612 Ken O. So it says file number 4162 colon Ken O. And that is like what kicks off the whole game, but there's no background or anything. It's just like
Yeah,
straight
and plus too,
into it,
like
you
that
know?
intro screen has some what is supposed to, I guess, look like handwritten notes on the file too. It just looks so bad. It's, it's illegible.
Yeah, it's like a very, very janky looking folder that you can't actually read
Yeah, but
anything
that's
on.
the like I said, that's the intro to the level, and that's just gets you right in, starts you right off. No explanation.
Yep. So the first stage here, or the first level, I guess, only has 2 stages before you get to the boss stage. Every other one has 3, and then you get to the boss stage. The second stage is pretty funny though. It starts with clearly Marilyn Monroe. There's like 6 posters or so on the wall that look like Marilyn Monroe. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've heard that there were subsequent releases where that was taken out due to copyright issues, but I don't know. I'm curious about that.
So can you copyright a person? Like, is she just copyrighted when she's been dead for 30, 40
Well, I
years at
mean,
this
you still
point?
have to. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question, but you know, if you put someone in a game, you have to pay for their likeness, right? So,
For
but
sure.
yeah, if you're dead, I don't know. I guess someone owns the rights to her likeness. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was a dumb question. Somebody will own that. Is it is your likeness the same with copyright law and things that after 100 years people can just use you however you want? Or is that like a you can never just start using somebody how they want?
I don't know because copyright laws have been really weird. And I was actually recently reading about how Disney has been really fucking up old school copyright laws. You know, because basically a lot of their you know, stuff should have expired by now. Like Mickey Mouse should be like, you know, you should be able to use them whenever you want at this point. But you can't because they just somehow managed to, you know, legally extend their rights to these characters. So who's to say those laws might have already been changed
Yeah.
or might be changing soon if they're not
I
officially
mean,
changed.
I'm sure Disney is just, using their money to win,
Yeah.
but I gotta say, I would agree with Disney. Like, that's weird that copyright law exists in general. Like, if they created something and then we made this law like 300 years ago, 200 years ago, before we realize that, in 200 years, somebody will still have something that they created and that they're still using, and there's no reason somebody else should then suddenly be able to
Yeah,
use it.
but that
You know
being
what I mean?
said,
Like, how do you feel
well,
about
okay, think about it this way. All the Sherlock Holmes movies and shows and books and things that have come out since Sherlock Holmes went up for, you know, public domain, uh, I feel like a lot of my childhood would have been less bright without having those interpretations of Sherlock Holmes. Case in point, the Great Mouse Detective, I think, was just a mouse Sherlock Holmes. You know, he's been in like shows and movies and TV. You know, there have been new books written and new, you know, interpretations of the character, and that's been, I think, interesting to be able to have him and all this stuff because, you know, free reign, because he's an old character.
it? Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about, morally speaking, about a you know, a company that is still using its character having its rights go up, and then all of a sudden Fox starts releasing Mickey Mouse cartoons. What does that do to? Well, I guess Fox is actually owned by Disney now anyway, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. It just came up now. It just seemed it would be weird if, Sony could just make a Mickey Mouse
Yeah, or
movie.
like
When Disney is very much still a active company.
yeah,
You
or
know what I
can you
mean?
imagine like fucking Sony making Mario games just because Mario wasn't public domain now? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. In 80 years, whatever the length is it 100 years? I have no idea what it is. But I mean, technically that could happen.
Yeah,
So I don't
technically it
know.
could.
It's very weird to think about. But anyway, we get to Ken-O
Mhm.
himself. Not Ken-O, like my name is Jono, Jono, not Keno. It's Ken space OH. Ken.
I
Oh.
love that name. But yeah, I just have to say this is when I started to get frustrated with this game because Kin-O, some of his moves are unreasonably hard to dodge, and not because of gameplay, like not because I'm just not good, but just because they like move in weird ways and they home in on you, and it's just like the low frame rate is hard to deal with. I had a little
Mhm.
bit of an issue
Yeah.
with Kin-O, actually taking him out, but watching the playthroughs of the people who played the newer games, it looked a lot more reasonable. Plus, by the time I got to him, I had one hit left, and I was bound and determined to
Yeah.
beat him without losing a life. So I should have just been less hardcore, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a difficult time with him too, because I didn't realize at first you had to shoot him in the
Mhm.
eyes. You have to throw your shuriken at his eyes. Otherwise, you will not be hurting him at all. And he has like 2 fireball things that are floating around. Yeah, I mean, any old Super Nintendo game or regular Nintendo game is gonna be hard, right? Any of these games are gonna be hard, especially when they're based off of an arcade
Yeah.
game, because they want those quarters. So yeah, he's basically like a blue ninja, and you're in what looks like a decrepit building because the wall's cracking in the background, and you can see that beautiful pink sky. And he's got those 2 fireballs floating around, and you're just throwing your, projectiles and trying to hit him right in the head, right where his eyes
Dude,
are.
just fuck those fireballs because you can't. I have not witnessed a perfect run yet where someone has actually managed to dodge all of those. So it's crazy. It
Mm.
hurt my soul.
Yeah, they definitely hurt the soul. And then we get to the next area here, which is file number 4523, Black Turtle. And we have the bright pink. Again, this time it's the color of the buildings, though.
Yeah, this time the buildings are that bright pink, and now there's nighttime.
It is
Yeah, it's
nighttime,
kind of
yeah.
weird. I stylistically, I don't know why they chose to do it this way, but they did, and that's what we were left with. So, um, but yeah, it pretty much starts out like the last couple levels. Your basic enemies with guns, you're having to dodge. I think one of the things that this game is really intent about is you're always having to attack them from a crouched position. And this level, it's very much the same thing. If you're facing off against enemies, you
Yeah.
have to be crouching the whole time.
That's a good point because I actually have a tip in here as well that I wanted to highlight. Just ducking is key to the game.
Mhm.
You have to crouch. And it took me a little bit of time, to be honest, before I realized that you can walk and shoot while you're
Yeah.
crouching, which definitely helps throughout the game as
Oh,
well.
also one thing I wanted to point out too, at the very beginning of this level, there's an enemy who pops up, and sometimes he will just rush you to the left, and he will trap you. And as you're getting hurt, you can't move, and so literally he will rush you all the way to the left until he hits you into the wall, and then you're just dead. If you don't have fast
Mm,
reaction time and kill him, he'll just actually automatically kill you. So yeah,
really? I did not run into that. That son of a
I know.
bee.
I ran into it. I had the misfortune of, letting the level boot up without being ready to go.
Hmm. And here's another tip I have written down. Always be throwing stars, even when there aren't enemies in front of you. Because one of the things this game does is always send enemies rushing towards you off screen. And so when I was moving, I was just constantly whipping stars in front of me because they disappear very quickly off screen. And I was hitting guys all the time by just chucking
Yeah,
stars, even when I couldn't see them as I was moving
that is a
forward.
smart tip because this
Oh.
game, while it's not a run and gun, does kind of play similarly to one sometimes.
Mhm.
So AT or ABTS. Always be throwing stars.
Always be throwing stars.
Or
ABTS.
shurikens if you want to call them what they're, I want to call,
I love
always
it.
be throwing stars. That is important.
That's good stuff, man. I actually feel like I want to take that note down. Always be throwing stars. That's like a good life tip right there,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know?
If you,
Is that will that apply to real
it
life?
depends. If you're famous and you have stars around you, just throw them. If you know any Britneys or Bryans or any big names, always throw them. I really felt strangely about the third level in this group of levels. How did you feel about that? It's the one where it's like weirdly red with boxes everywhere.
Yeah. It's like lava like almost. It's kind of a weird, especially considering the first level, it does look a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Um I don't know, like you went from the city lights and I think it's supposed to be like their cave level, but it's kind of like you're in like a lava cave
Yeah. I
level.
also like the ninjas, the green ninjas in this. They literally hold their swords above their head and just walk at you. But if
Mhm.
they miss you, they just keep walking. You know,
It's like they're dancing and their swords are kind of
yeah.
shimmery.
But it's funny because like they're pretty mindless. You know,
Mhm.
super skilled trained ninjas just walking at you with their swords like this. But also too, something worth mentioning that I forgot to mention earlier is whenever you beat the level, there's clearly a door you're supposed to go through, but you have to walk off the side of the map instead, which I always found to be really funny. It was like they couldn't.
I noticed that too. There's like a black slate. It's obviously where you're supposed
Yeah.
to go. It's the end of the level, and you just walk right
Honestly,
by
I
it.
think they just probably had them in place, but didn't figure out how to make them work, so they just didn't. Just goes to show you this is a
They
little.
figured they would make the walk into it animation later, and they couldn't figure it out. That's what you think
That's what I
happened?
think happened.
I think you know what? I think that is probably what happened.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that is hilarious. I have another note here too about the game. You can go back and forth. So unlike a Mario game where you cannot go backwards once the screen moves from left
Hmm.
to right, you cannot go back. Yeah, you can go back. And so if you miss a student that you're trying to save because she's further, the student's further up or something, you can walk back and try to
Yeah,
get them. So just want to point that out. Gameplay is a little bit different in that regard compared to other
that
games of
was
this ilk.
certainly something I liked about it. And I said level 3 for the last thing. I meant to say level 2 because level 3 is the one with the scuba ninjas.
Hell yes, it is. Let's go Scuba Ninjas, one of my favorite. It's just so silly, like right off the bat, because you have, which we've already seen, you're clearly at like a harbor or something, which also kind of makes the weird stage 2 where you're in a red lava dungeon cave area weird because you're in stage 3, you're right back to where you were in stage 1, where you're on like a pier or port or somewhere around there because there's those bright pink, they look like boathouses,
Yeah,
like those warehouses you always see right on the water. And you're just kind of like jumping from plank to plank. And as you jump, these scuba ninjas will pop out of the water that doesn't look like water. it,
I totally thought it was supposed to be snow.
it does not look like water.
Yeah, it's apparently supposed to be water.
Yeah. And the scuba ninjas are hilarious though, because they jump up and they just stab you with their giant sword, like right when they come up. So you kind of have to duck and jump away from them. But it is funny because you can land on the water and you do not sink. But we have just seen scuba ninjas appear from beneath the water.
Yeah, such a weird time. Such a weird time.
It's a weird time to be alive, Micah.
True that.
All right. So anything else to say on this stage?
No, not really. I mean, the boss is coming up next, and I feel like he's way more important than Pink Doc level.
Yeah, tell us about Black Turtle, who,
Okay,
like you said, it's probably the guy steering the helicopter, but there's clearly no one seen in the window of the helicopter where the cockpit's at.
maybe Black Turtle is the helicopter. But yeah, so the helicopter appears and it sort of moves up and down, back and forth, while it's dropping these weird ninjas at you, and they sort of do this like jumping motion with their swords as if to jump on you and stab you. But yeah, you have to deal with a lot of those enemies while you're trying to hit the front of the helicopter. Enough shurikens to the front of the helicopter and it blows up. And that's the end. But yeah, this one was probably the one I spent the most time on trying to beat. It was rather difficult. If those guys who are jumping at you, they go back and forth. So if 3 of them come at you and you don't manage to kill any of them, they might get you boxed in and just take you down.
Yeah. I was very frustrated at this boss. It was honestly driving me absolutely bananas, and I put in here, this may be one of my least favorite bosses of the entire show so far.
It was frustrating.
'Cause it was so annoying. You have to hit the nose of the helicopter, but I didn't realize that right off the bat, which I probably should have because there's like a gold piece, so I probably should have known that's where I was supposed to hit it. It was
But
easy to figure that out, but I got caught in the back with all of these jumping ninjas, and they're like pogo sticking onto your head, but they're swords, not pogo sticks.
yeah,
And
sword sticking into your
yeah,
head.
right into your head, just a pogo sword straight to the dome, right to the dome piece, as we used to say back in our youth. And yeah, man, I don't know. It was just driving me crazy, and I just it took me a while to like get out of that trap. I died several times, and then I eventually beat him, and I was so happy because I never want to fight that helicopter ever again.
Yeah, same. And in all honesty, I think that was probably one of the hardest parts of the game.
I would agree.
So after that boss, I feel like it got a little bit more, if anything, more straightforward. And also in the next level, we get some pretty awesome background art.
Yeah, I think this is the best looking level, at least up to this point, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically you have some. There's supposed to be snow-capped mountains in the background. There's 3 of them, but they're really like covered in purple snow, which has a really cool effect. They really love that pink purple color in this game, don't they?
Yeah, dude, they do. They love it.
Yeah, and so you are walking through the level. You see the mountains in the background. There's a stone wall that separates you from what you would assume is the nature that would lead up to these mountains and everything in the background.
Yeah.
It looks like there's torches on top of the stone mountain or
I
the
took those
stone
as
wall.
trees, but it could be either just as easily, I think.
Hmm. You're saying the orange things could be trees?
Yeah. Like the way that I was viewing it, but once again, it's not well done, so it's hard to tell. As
It
that
looks
they
cool though.
look like it does, but they look like the top of trees to me. But I don't know. They might be torches. It might make more sense.
Yeah, I don't know because they start to get narrower at the bottom. And,
Yeah.
that makes me think, like, what kind of tree would that be? But, they're probably trees. Torches really wouldn't make sense. I'm not sure
Who
the
even?
trees would really make that much sense either.
Yeah. Who is to say, man? These guys, whatever janky team made this game, while they did a pretty okay job, it was only okay.
Well,
Now I
they
want to.
never got approval to make it. They just went for it, man.
Yeah, it's so funny. I really want to go back and play the arcade version now because we were watching through videos after this playthrough, and it looks way better.
It looks totally different. I mean, it really does
Yeah.
look like a totally different game. I mean, you can see that, the bones of of the arcade Shinobi are in this NES version, but it's
Yeah,
definitely a different game. It's kind of
totally.
wild. So yeah, the next level, stage 2. Why don't you tell us about it? It's a bit of a boring design, I would say.
Yeah, so I feel like it kind of looks. I want to say almost like industrial. It's got what looks like a cavey, rocky background with a bunch of pipes.
Mhm.
And it actually really reminds me of this one level in the Jurassic Park video game for the Sega Genesis I used to love, where you're inside of a sewer. But that being said, it's sort of like I want to say kind of pointless. The pipes don't really seem to be going anywhere. They're just used as like platforms. But once you get through some of that and you fight a lot of these sortie boys and bazooka boys, you start to come across some boxes. It gets a little bit more base like once you finally go through the first door into the second area. Um, that's where it actually looks pretty. I would say maybe one of the better designs of this game. You know, boxy
You think
background.
this level is?
Well, it just looks the most defined out of everything, and stylized. At this point, I feel like the art's a little bit tighter. But once again, I think it just lends itself to the fact that everything is kind of boxy, so it's easy to make it look good when it's
Yeah,
boxy.
are you on to stage 3 now? Because stage 2 was just like all blue.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
there's
no, I'm in stage 3 now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. All right. So I would agree. Stage 3 looks significantly better than stage 2 for sure. It is a good looking level.
But yeah, it's actually pretty short. And the boss, the final boss stage, how did you feel about it?
About Mr. Mandara.
Yeah,
Well,
well, the
leading up
initial.
to the boss,
Mhm.
you have to basically shoot your way through all of these little statues that are moving at you. And I died a couple times at first because you have to do it right away
Yeah.
and keep firing rapid fire at them because there's a bolt of electricity right to your left that you cannot keep walking backwards or you'll die. And then this is a weird boss because there's a giant head on a wall, like a mechanical looking head. It's kind of gold with a wide open mouth and a red button on the top of the head.
Yeah.
And you have to shoot the red button. But I don't know. It is kind of a janky design. It's just like literally the entire screen is just like a teal color, except for the last eighth of the screen where the head's going up and down.
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, my biggest issue with this level is the initial start with like those little like maybe Shiva, I don't know, statues. They're difficult, and the problem is you can only have one projectile on the screen at once. So you have to get right up to them as you're shooting them,
Mhm.
so you can throw your projectiles fast enough to get through enough statues. But if they touch you, you're dead. So it just felt a little bit unnecessarily difficult considering the limitations of the hardware. But I think games like to use limitations against you a
Yeah.
lot of times back then. But yeah, like you said, the boss is just really strange. Probably one of the weird. It didn't really seem to make sense. He also looks like mechanical, like he's like made of, I don't know, like metal plates, but like screwed in place. Maybe like a robot. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It definitely looks like a robot. And the helicopter was by far my least favorite boss to play, but I think this was the worst design of the bosses. It just didn't fit at all.
Yeah, totally.
I don't
I
know.
would have to agree. Now, at least his projectiles were, you could determine how to dodge them. They had like a rhythm to them, but it didn't make him fun. Didn't make him fun.
Agreed. Agreed. So now we go to the next file, which is for Lobster, the boss Lobster file number 4169. Lobster.
Oh
The
yeah,
first stage is pretty cool. Again, you got the mountains in the background.
yeah.
I think
This
it's
is
a pretty
probably
cool looking stage.
it's stylized. You have these little like shrines. It actually looks like it's supposed to maybe be in Japan. I don't know. That's what I took from it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then you start to come up to a base that actually looks like a building. It doesn't look like a weird colored not building. It's made of
Yeah.
yellow bricks and these cool windows. I feel like at this point in the game design, while you still can see a definite door that you should be walking into and you walk off screen, other than that, I feel like their level design was getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did get better throughout the game. I think the level design does get better throughout the game for the most part. I mean, in stage
Yeah.
3 there was that second level which is all blue and it's just some pipes on that you're walking on, which is kind of a lame design. But, they're at least branching out and changing up the color palette a little bit more. And then in this
Yeah.
next stage, in stage 2 of level 4, the lobster level, we actually meet junkie heads for the first time. And this one actually does not have a door at the end of the game, at the end of the stage that you walk through. So maybe this is when they realize that, well, we don't know how to figure out that animation.
Yeah, totally. These junkie guys though, they're difficult because they do pretty much start jumping at your ride as soon as they appear, and sometimes they're fast enough that unless you have good reflex time or know where they're going to hit you, can spell certain doom
Yeah,
for our boy Shinobi.
Mr. Shinobi Joe Musashi. And this
Yeah,
level kind of looks like a prison. There's a lot of red brick, a lot of like prison like windows in the
yeah.
background.
I
Again,
put down that it looked like a prison, but also like a brewery at the same time. Like some of the mechanical stuff could be vats.
yeah, all right. Could be like a
I don't know.
firehouse too. It's just
Yeah,
everything,
dude. That's where they keep their prisoners, their beer, and their fire hoses all in
Maybe
one.
the prisoners were hired to be firemen, but they refused to work unless they could get drunk.
That sounds perfect. That explains everything.
Explains everything.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and now I do think the level looks okay, but again, even the levels that are look good. I still don't think they look that good. You
No,
know,
seriously.
the coolest ones, the coolest levels are like good levels in a better game. You know what I mean? Not like the great levels in a better game.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And when you consider what games like Kirby and Mario both did with the graphics and making things stylized, well, I know this is supposed to have a little bit more of like a quote unquote more realistic look. I think it kind of falls flat,
Yeah.
stylistically speaking.
Yeah. And then we go to the third stage here, which is essentially the same as stage 2, just with the bricks now blue instead of red.
Mhm. Yeah, not much change.
Very little has changed. Same enemies, same overall design. It's just a color swap. You know how they do it with enemies in a lot of these old school beat 'em up style games. They just did it with the
Mhm.
level now.
Definitely.
Listen, they needed to release this game. All right, budgets were tight, and they said we're gonna make the same exact level, just change it to blue.
I mean, in all honesty, I don't really see much of a difference at all between the two levels. I'm sure the layout's different, but it plays exactly the same.
Yeah. So that's the last stage, and then we get to Mr. Lobster himself, Lobster Hands.
Yes. Mr. Lobster Hands was kind of difficult at first until I realized what I was supposed to do. Which, like every enemy, threw his shurikens into his eyeballs.
Yep. And his name is not Lobster Hands. I don't know why I said that. It just seemed right.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I was feeling it.
I think his enemy design, his character design is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not really sure what's going on in the background. Kind of looks industrial with the sky in the back. I don't even know, to be completely honest. But yeah, I thought he was a cool boss. He walks very slowly at you with his sword, so as long as you're hitting him, he won't really do much damage to you if you can hit him fast enough.
Yeah, and if you get, I think it looks like one or two eyeball hits, he actually gets bounced backwards, which
Yeah.
gives you more time. So if
Mhm.
you're smart, you're quick with your shurikens, you can get through this.
Yes. Yeah, I actually think he was easier than the last couple bosses. So
Yeah, by a lot, I would say.
yeah, by a lot. I have super easy written down compared to the previous ones. And now, Micah, we're on the home stretch here. Stage 5 of 5, file number 4663, The Masked Ninja, which I think stage 1 has my favorite level in the game, in terms of
Yeah,
visuals at least.
dude, seriously. So it starts off, you get some more of those cool mountains. This time they're green with white caps. And you get those like Japanese style Zen garden walls, which are super awesome. And just a lot of ninjas. It's almost all ninjas. This is probably not one of the more difficult levels. It's just probably one of the more fun levels, though. Lots of pits you got to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
You can go up on the wall or go on the ground. It's cool stuff. It's a cool
Yeah.
time.
And the ground is pink again. Not quite as bright pink as the Miami Vice pink. It's more of a magenta, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of colors. They just really like to use as many colors as they could while making this game, it appears. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool level. And at the end, it looks like you're entering into a dojo. And there's quite literally the animation of a door that has been opened, but you walk right by it off screen.
I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, level 2. I love this because you obviously are supposed to have gone inside, and now you're in a giant bamboo garden.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yes, they clearly set the game up to make it look like you were about to walk inside of this dojo or whatever this Japanese building is. And yeah, you're in a bamboo garden now.
Now, alternatively, I'm gonna give you my alternative hypothesis as to what you're in. You might be in an internal grow factory for marijuana because this was not
Oh.
legal at the time. I
This
mean,
is a
it's definitely
crime
supposed.
syndicate here.
Yeah, totally. This is definitely a crime syndicate. They're definitely villains. This could just be really big pot leaves.
I would say very likely, if not for the fact that at the end of this level, you then enter a building. So unless you're entering a building inside of another building, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
That's possible
it's
though. That's
definitely
possible.
it's a bamboo forest, man. I think maybe it was supposed to be a gate. It just wasn't well explained. But yeah, no, the art for stage 3, I guess stage 3 of level 5 is great. I love, and I think some of these levels are actually some of the easier ones in the game, but they just look really good.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it is a cool level because it does look like you are inside of a dojo now. Because this is also when you meet I think the character named Booze when we were talking about him earlier, who's like the older, more professional looking fighter warrior. You
Yeah.
know, has a
He's got
traditional
that staff.
robe with the long wooden pole. And
But
that's what takes us to the final level, man, which is kind of like the old bonsai rock garden. You're in a rock garden essentially. That's the sand is neon pink, as this game would do at the
oh, I
very
love
last
it.
level. But yeah, this takes us to the final boss, the masked ninja. Why don't you tell us about him?
Okay, he is so annoying. His first attack is going to be this jump, and you have to sort of like hit him to knock him back. Once you hit him enough, though, he starts to take on what looks like a tornado form. I think he's using a lot of the same magic that you use throughout the thing. I don't know because I never got to use magic, but once you take out his tornado form, he starts to, uh, what's it called in like in Dragon Ball Z where they have the after image? That's what I'm thinking of. He starts to have what looks like little after image guys jump at you too,
Yep.
and you take them out. He'll replace them, but you can take him out and then you get a good hit in on the masked ninja, and you get enough hits in there. He starts to do this like quick forward move, and just a few more hits and he's dead, and that's it.
Yeah, I wrote down Frogger. He's playing Frogger with his self, with his shadow, because they're kind of jumping over each other. But yeah, the after image guys, that killed me several times. I gotta say that was probably
Same here.
the hardest part for sure of this guy.
Honestly, it's his last movement, which is like a forward dash that happens so quick. I would get through the after image Frogger scene, and just he would immediately kill me with that dash, man.
Yeah, I have that. There's 4 forms. He's electricity, then he's the wave, and then he's leapfrog guy, and then slide guy. That's how I wrote down. That is
But I
not
mean, those are the
official.
elements, man. Waves, electricity, frogs. Yeah.
Did you write down your final score by chance?
No, I actually took a picture of it.
Well,
Hold on,
mine
I'm
was
gonna find it.
484,800.
Let's see if if I was able to beat that score. Mine was 488,300.
Well, fuck you, Micah. I see how it is. Okay.
Did you rescue every single one of those little babies?
No, I didn't. I remember at times thinking, I don't like the way that baby's looking at me, and I left it
Mm.
with Zeed Corporation or Zeed Crime Syndicate.
See, I just knew I'd sell all these babies off if I rescued all of them. So, I rescued all of them. Sold some off.
Well, there you go. That was the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. We're both evil, but I'm just more evil.
Mr. Joe Shinobi Musashi. Joe Ninja.
Yep. That was us.
Yes, COVID's
Yeah.
been filled with all the Joes. We got Joe Exotic, and now we got Joe Musashi. What other Joes coming next?
I don't know. I drink a lot of coffee during quarantine, so there's that Joe.
We got Cupo Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh man, I got more. I'll think of more. We'll get more Joes on the shows.
Joe's on the shows, man. Well, that concludes the journey of Joe Musashi, at least for this episode. I think the only thing left, man, is to get into a little PYA action, and then we can wrap this puppy up.
Indeedy do. Now, would you like to go first on this PYA, or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you go first, Micah?
Cool. I'm going to ask you the most basic, most common question: samurai or ninja?
Oh my God, that is one of my questions too, Micah.
Of course.
And for me, sir, I have samurai. Absolutely.
I also chose samurai. Come on, hell yeah.
I mean, ninjas are cooler in some ways. You know, the little sneakier. But, they weren't really actually respected back in the day. Samurais were very, very respected. They also have awesome armor, way better swords. And, if you think about all of the games and media we've consumed with ninjas, there's also a lot of like thug ninjas. I mean, when have you ever seen like a bad character samurai? They're always good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Rurouni Kenshin? That show, that anime?
What is that?
It's about an old samurai. He like stops killing, and so he retires. But then he has to like fight all these other guys. So some of his biggest enemies are samurai, and some of them are total dicks.
I can believe that. That.
But in all honesty, though, I think generally speaking, the honor code that surrounded the samurai was one of the most interesting aspects about samurai, particularly as it was explored in pop culture. So I had to choose samurai. Ninjas, they're sneaky, yeah. They're in the shadows. They're killing you when you're trying to go to sleep. It's just not as cool as like taking out a katana and chopping someone's head off in 1-to-1 combat,
I agree. And, if day to day, if I was gonna wear either samurai armor or ninja outfits, I would wear ninja outfits because they'd be way more functional and comfortable. But samurais look way cooler, way
Dude, I would
cooler.
just go through the trouble of getting all armored up, and,
Mhm.
but there's like the samurai day wear, right? And that stuff's cool. I'd be all down.
In order to get into that armor, you have to just cover your body in Vaseline and then just slip into it, or
That
butter.
is how they traditionally armored themselves.
Hmm. Yes, the traditional
Yeah.
body buttering, pre armoring.
Hell yeah.
All right, my first question: is this the worst game we have done yet on the show?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably yes. Probably yes, but it wasn't terrible. I've played worse video games, definitely, but yeah, I mean, for the show, it might be my least liked.
I'm going to say yes. I agree. I've definitely played worse games than this. But in terms of games that we played through from front to back, I'd probably say this is my least favorite one we have played
Yeah,
yet on the show.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Shinobi.
You only get a 4 out of 400.
For wow, that's a 1%.
Yeah, no, it gets more than that. Cool. Here we go. What would you do if you possessed the skills of an elite shinobi warrior? Joe Shinobi.
What skills would I want to have?
What would you do if you had all those
What
skills?
would I do if I had all the skills?
You have all the skills that
Hmm.
Joe Shinobi Ninja Warrior has. What are you gonna do with it, Jono?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're purely going off of what we see in the game, he doesn't sneak around at all. Enemies always see him coming, so it's not like I could use his skills to rob a bank. At least based off of what I played in this game. So I would probably go to the circus or the carnival or the theme park, and I would win all of the stuffed animals because that dude knows how to throw a shuriken. So I would assume I'd be
Oh,
able to beat a lot of those, dart games and throw the balls at the, I don't know, guys you got to knock down games. That's what I would do.
dude, and just like start a secondary market where you sold off the prices, and you can somehow include a drug cartel ring and all of that, and you can make a lot of money doing it.
I would just have a warehouse that I would fill with all the stuffed animals, and then I would build a diving board and I would Scrooge McDuck into them. And I
Okay, that's a
wouldn't
good
let
answer.
any children come ever. They don't get to have joy from the stuffed animals.
Not even the children you rescued. The baby shinobis.
No, I would be like Ebenezer Scrooge pre Night of the Three Spirits.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
gotcha. So
Man,
I said
that
because
was
I'm
negative.
I'm
I'm sorry.
that was negative, man, Jono.
Hmm.
Your computer's really gotten you in a bad place, huh?
It just put me into a bad mental space, yes.
Okay, so my answer is I'm assuming he is also sneaking in between these scenes, but I just said I would start an awesome prank show.
Ah.
Shinobi ninja pranks. And that's what I would do.
What was an example of one of the pranks that you would do?
Things like swapping people's food out when they're not looking with plastic food, or I don't know, cutting the brakes on someone's car while they're driving because I'm underneath it like a ninja.
Putting
Yeah.
glass in people's mashed potatoes.
Yeah, all the classics. All the classics.
So that's fucked up. I'm sorry I said that.
I was thinking mostly whoopee cushions, but maybe also some tacks under the cushions too.
Yeah, I think whoopee
Yeah.
cushions is a good ninja trick. That's what they're
Hell
known
yeah.
for.
That is what the ninja are known for.
Well, all right, all right. Yeah, okay. You ready?
Yes.
What was the most frustrating moment of the game for you?
Level 2 level 2 stage 1, when that guy, if he hits you, will just hit you all the way to the side of the wall and then kill you.
Hmm.
That moment, which I know you didn't experience, but if you experienced it once, that was enough for all of eternity, in my opinion. So,
Fair. I put the helicopter boss. I hated him.
yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Short
Okay.
but sweet answer there.
Yeah, it's perfect. If you could be one of the enemies in this game, which one would it be?
Hmm. I would be I'd be Booze. One, his name is Booze. That's cool. But he looks like he's wise and older, and he's a ninja master, some sort of warrior, and I like that.
That's true, but let's think about this for a second. Is he past his prime?
Well, he would have lived a good life to get past his prime, right? I guess if I have to transport into that person's life, I'd probably be one of the kidnapped students that get saved because then I have a whole life in front of me as a child,
True,
and I have my
true, true.
dreams and hopes ahead.
But we're specifically talking about the enemies, though.
Damn it, Mike. Then Scuba Man. Scuba
Scuba
diving's the
Man,
shit.
heard. I said Junkie Head because it looks like he's having a good time. But now I know because his name is Junkie Head why he's having a good time.
He's very
So
strung out.
maybe I'd rather I might rather be Spider. You know,
Ooh, that's a good answer. Spider's actually good.
he's got some pretty good powers, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, there you go. What's your next question, sir?
When we chose to do Shinobi, do you think we both had in the back of our minds Ninja Gaiden instead and not Shinobi?
You know, I was actually thinking about this because whenever I was looking for Shinobi initially, I was like, you know, I think I pulled up, Ninja Gaiden, and I was like, all right, this might be what I was thinking of. So you know what? Maybe. I know people talk about Shinobi with a lot of love in their hearts, and some of the big titles were on the Sega Genesis. But yeah, I think we're thinking of the other game.
I totally think I was thinking more Ninja Gaiden because when I started playing this game, I was like, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. It played similar to how I thought it was going to be. Just like the graphics and everything. It's just it's like, man, this is it. This is the game that so many people love. And I think really I've been watched some Ninja Gaiden and I was looking at the Ninja Gaiden. I think that is the game that I really meant. So I still really want to play Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, the Shinobi 3, I played a little bit of that before we started doing the show or this episode, and it was a lot more fun, a lot more well made, and just a lot more like stylized. So
Yeah.
I think the sequels to this might be more what people talked about back in the day. But
Or
I'm just
just,
gonna
you
I'm just
know,
gonna blaze through those two.
yeah, or it could have just been the arcade version. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Well, cool. Next question. I know where this is going because you pretty much asked this. I was just gonna ask where does this sit on your list of NES titles?
Oh man, it's I don't even know, but it's very low.
Yeah, that's what I put
It's
too. Very
very
low.
low. Yeah.
Very low. Cool. You got
Sorry,
another question?
sorry, Shinobi. Yes, I have one more
Mm.
question. Have you ever thrown a shuriken, and should we buy some?
I've never thrown them, and we should totally buy some. Hell yeah.
That is exactly what I said. Never thrown one, but yes, the fact that we don't own any shurikens is blasphemy, and we need to change that ASAP.
Yeah.
We need to go to
So
the
that's
shuriken shop down the street
hell yeah.
and then throw them at squirrels. I'll start.
I'm actually thinking squirrels. We could throw them at squirrels, right? That's a classic. But poor squirrels. They didn't do anything to deserve it. Let's throw them at people who are not wearing their masks in public.
Yeah, we could do that. It depends. Sometimes the masks are crazy though. Like I was walking through Cheeseman Park and there was somebody sitting reading a book. No one was around her. And I've seen this so many times. Just in a park. No one like 30 feet from her. It's like why do people do that?
Hmm. Well, I think if you're outdoors and you have a lot of space between you and other people, it's probably fine to take that mask off, right? But it might just be that for me, it's so much of a reflex now to keep my mask on that I'll literally come home. I'll go to the grocery store and I'll come home and I'll unload all of my groceries, and then when I'm done, I'm like, oh wait, I'm still wearing my mask in my own home by myself. Like after having put away all of my groceries, why didn't I take this off when I first got in? I'm just so used to it now. I wonder
I
if
can't
maybe
wait
that's
till we're not used to it. Well,
oh man,
let's get this vaccine,
same.
baby.
Hell yeah.
I know you're
Hell yeah.
coming. You're getting here.
It's coming ASAP. They're already starting to vaccinate people in the UK, so it's just a matter of time. A matter of time.
My friend who works in healthcare was talking about how they should be getting a shipment soon, and she's going to be on the front line to get it. Healthcare workers are. So I'm pumped, dude. It's still going to be a while. Obviously, it's going to be months
Yeah.
and months until this is actually available enough for all of us. But it's a good sign, Micah. It makes me
Yeah,
hopeful.
it's a very good sign. And if the virus can at least have less of a foothold in populations, then we can honestly like cut this thing down a lot. And it will take time, sure, but it is going to be quickly promising, it looks like. So, yeah, feeling positive about this shit.
Yeah, dude. And then
sure.
we're going to have Poog Fest. We're going to invite everybody. Just 1 month
yeah.
recording nonstop.
1 month, no work, but work, your life is all being recorded. Poog Fest.
Yes.
I like
Poog
it.
Fest 2021.
My last question for you, sir. How would Jono react if some evil organization was kidnapping all of your friends? What would you do?
I definitely wouldn't fight solely with shurikens. I would come more There's bazookas and pistols in this game. Clearly, he could have brought better weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that would be number one. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Would I be solo fighting, or could I like enlist the help of others?
I think that's just up to your interpretation. So, enlisting the help of others, I'll allow it.
No, I'll stick to the Joe Musashi way as a solo hero. And yes, I would have I would have a lightsaber and a laser pistol. I'd have Han Solo's blaster. And I would just go ham.
That sounds great. I just said Rambo style. Giant machine gun and probably a really bad knife to stab people with. That'd be it.
Have you ever seen the first Rambo? It's called First Blood. It's not even called Rambo.
I've not actually ever seen it. I'm going to be
very
honest.
First movie with John Rambo, played by Sylvester Stallone, is actually called First Blood. And it's not like the other ones. It's much more like, I don't even know, slower paced than the other ones. And it's not just like a massacre. A little more drama, to be honest.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, it's on my list of movies I got to see. It's probably on the list of movies that we should do for the podcast too. Medium Retro special. But yeah, no, I've never seen it. I've seen plenty of clips from Rambo movies all across the, decades they've been being released, but never sat down and watched a full one.
Yeah. The first Rambo, First Blood, it's called First Blood, is actually about him when he comes back from Vietnam and he's got like PTSD, and it's like affecting him in society, and he like loses it.
Damn.
Because he actually like murders an Oregon police department or something. It's like in America.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Well, he doesn't murder them. They arrest him and they're being dicks, and then he's not having that. But anyway.
Gotcha.
Well, cool. Shinobi in the books. Shaboobies.
We did it. Shaboobies complete.
All right, Micah, any final words?
Just, this game, maybe just watch a long play instead of play through it. It's fine. It's fun-ish, but I wouldn't play through it again. If you do play through it, play through the arcade version. That's all I gotta say.
100%. We learned our lesson. I agree. Cool. Take it easy, everybody.
Later, y'all. Hey, cool people. We just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing with this podcast, spread the word.
And if you'd like to support future episodes, we've launched a Patreon. Head over to MediumRetro.com or search for us on Patreon.com to become a fan of our show. Your support is much appreciated.
Also, follow us on Twitter and Twitch at MediumRetro and at Instagram at MediumRetro Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.